Welcome back, guys. The way I wanted to record this right on the computer wasn't working, so I'm going to do it this way. Hopefully this works out okay. So there's three main programs that I use for programming my quadcopter. I use the Impulse RC driver fixer. This makes it so that the drivers and the flight controller and everything communicates with all the programs. I've already run that. The next thing I use is Betaflight. Betaflight's what I do all my configuration of the flight controller in. And then BL Heli configurator configures the ESCs. I'm going to be going through this setup quite quickly. There's a lot of good videos out there. Every bit's different. I'm just going to show you what I do, go through it quickly. Otherwise, you might just need to look up specific videos for your flight controller if you have questions. So I'm going to plug my flight controller in. You can see up here it changed to COM6. I want to update the firmware, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect. Okay, and I want to remember this target right here. You can see my cursor. Maytech F722SE. Okay, I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to do firmware flasher here. Let it load a second. Choose my board, which was the target. Maytech F722SE. Choose the most recent firmware. Load firmware online. Once it's loaded, it'll give you the option to flash the firmware. And it'll start. It should automatically change up here to DFU. I'm not sure what DFU stands for. I just know that's what it needs to be in to flash. So you be patient while it flashes. Okay, once that's complete, what I like to do is unplug my flight controller. And then I will plug it back in and we'll talk about some more stuff in just a moment. Okay, right now before I plug back in and start programming, I like to bind the receiver if the receiver gets passed through, which this one does. So I'm going to plug in and wait for that bind sequence to take place. So I have my receiver set up. I'm actually going to turn my radio off for now. Back off because I don't need to do other setup. Okay. So now we're going to connect. And the biggest thing here, first thing we can check is that our accelerometer is working. Got the front of the quad. Okay. I'm going to calibrate accelerometer. Some of you won't need accelerometer. I'm using it because I'll have GPS. Okay, that should be calibrated. I'm going to go to ports. Ports is where you assign your UARTs. I made a little list. Maybe if I go to ports, there we go. So UART 1 is going to be my GPS, which is right here. I need to select the baud rate on that. UART 2 is going to be my Crossfire. So serial RX. Could have swore I chose Crossfire somewhere, but I could be totally wrong. And then I know that UART 6 is going to be my ESCs. So serial RX. Save and reboot every time you're done. Reconnect. Go to configuration. Be using DShot 600. I'm in quad orientation. These are the rotation of my motors. If you choose reverse rotation, I'll have to switch those. Accelerometer, barometer, and magnetometer. I'm going to use my craft name as Source One. Select Crossfire here, serial-based receiver. Make sure this one is off for what I'm going to do. Telemetry on, air mode on. Turn on the ESC sensor. Turn on GPS. It's going to be U-blocks. The rest of that I do not worry about. I'm going to save and reboot. Connect again. Now for me, I like to go through and see that everything's working. So far my GPS is working. It's not connected because I'm inside. Ports. ESC GPS Receiver. Okay, failsafe. If you don't have GPS, your failsafe is going to be drop. You just want it to drop. You don't want it to try and land or anything like that. Just drop it. It's the safest. I'm going to turn on my GPS rescue because that's what I use. Here. Save and reboot. Connect. PID tuning. This is where you change your rates. I'm going to bump mine up a little bit. For one, I like a lot of expo in my drones. Actually, it might be easier to just type this. Okay, 677 is a little slow. I want this drone to be a little more docile than my others. Just playing around with settings, guys, to see if I can find. I want about 850. Let's try that. Okay, I'm going to leave the PIDs alone. Leave my other stuff alone for now. Save. Okay, go to the receiver tab will be what we work on next. I turned off my radio, so I'm going to disconnect. Disconnect the flight controller. Alrighty, so I turned my radio on. I'm going to hook my flight controller back up. We have connection of the radio. I'm going to connect again here. And we're going to go to receiver. So in the receiver section, as you can see, as I move my sticks on my radio, things change. However, this is throttle up and it's changing roll. We don't want that. So over here on channel map, you need to change that to spectrum and save. That will move, throttle, correctly roll, pitch, and those things. And if you look down here, you got a little picture of a quadcopter. This is where you can make sure your settings are correct. So I'll pitch it up. And so if I roll to my left, it goes right, so I need to change that. If I pitch forward, it goes forward. And my yaw is opposite. So I do that in my radio. So my roll was opposite. and my yaw was opposite. So I change those, roll to the right, left, pitch forward, pitch back, yaw left, yaw right. Now they're correct. Okay. Back out of there. Make sure my switches I want to be working are working. They are. I'm going to go to modes really quick. I'm going to add a range for arm. It is usually, for me, comes out as aux2. Okay. And then GPS rescue, I believe will be aux3. I want this to be opposite, so I want it to be disabled with the switch in this direction, enabled with the switch in that direction. Save all that. I'm going to go back to receiver. Okay, receiver midpoints should be right about 1500, and then your top and bottom point should go beyond that. So my bottom point for roll here should be at 1000, and my top point should be at 2000. As you can see, I have quite the gap here. I can't make those adjustments in my radio. That's too far. So I've got to go into what's called the CLI and make an adjustment to the endpoints available for my receiver. I have another video on that. I'll link it up in a card. I'm going to do that really quick and I will come back. Okay, so I did that change in the CLI. We're going to reconnect. We're going to check out the receiver. And we should be pretty darn close. I got to make some minor adjustments. So let me do that really quick. Got those looking good. They're right as close as I can get them. Another thing I need to do is enable my RSSI channel. I believe it'll be channel 8. aux 8. Going to save. Go back to setup. I'll be able to tell if that's the right RSSI channel. Not. It's a little bit weird. This is another thing you'll have to look up if you're using Crossfire. Alright, so I got my receiver and everything working correctly. I've got all my settings done that I need to change that you won't need to worry about. Oh, come on, connect. So again, setup. Make sure your accelerometer is set. And we're not seeing an accelerometer. There we go. Everything's moving the right direction. Ports, make sure you know which UARTs you need. Why are you being so slow? So I've got my UART for my receiver, UART for my GPS, UART for my ESCs. Tuning, I changed my, nope, let me go back to configuration. I'm jumping ahead here. So to configuration, I chose D-Shot 600 for my ESCs. Most ESCs support that nowadays. Gave my craft a name, made sure my receiver was on the right protocol, enabled my GPS and set the right settings. I wanted telemetry on, air mode, OSD, ESC sensor, because I'm going to be using 32-bit ESCs, and all those filters can stay on. The rest I don't worry about. Failsafe. For most quads, it's a drop. For me, I have GPS, so I want a GPS rescue. PID tuning. I was able to change my speed of rotation for my quadcopter. In the receiver, I want to make sure that when I move the roll, excuse me, that's the pitch. When I move the roll, it goes the right direction. Sits on 1500, goes from 1000 to 2000. I go into modes, set up my switches, make sure that they work. That's my arm switch. Adjustments, you don't need to do anything. Servos, nothing. GPS just tells me that I have GPS working. Motors we will go into momentarily. In fact, we can actually go into motors right now. No, scratch that. I'm going to go into the BL Heli configurator first. So I'm going to disconnect here. I'm going to go into the BL Heli configurator. You will want to have a battery at this point. And props off, guys. I said this before. Props off. Props are going to cause you problems if you have them on. So I'm going to connect. Okay, I think I got the right configurator right now for the ESCs. Good grief. Alright, power up the ESCs. Plug in the flight controller. COM 6. We're going to connect. Read the setup. There we go. Okay. Let's see if we have any new versions of BL Heli. .6. I think that's what's on there, right? 32.6. Yep. Auto calibration enabled. Motor directions. Just looking at all the little settings here. I was told to change this to 48. Okay, we're going to write the setup for that. Okay, so each individual ESC should have 48 on it. They do. Oh, get them all back here. Okay. I want to check my motor direction here. One, 2 is backwards. 3 is correct. 4 is backwards. Okay. 2 and 4 need to be reversed. Go back to ESC setup. Read our setup again. Just want ESC2. We're going to put the motor direction as reversed. We're going to write setup. 2 was okay. We're going to turn off 2. Do 4. Reversed. Write setup. Go back and check the directions. Props off, guys. Very important. 2 is going the right direction. 4 is now going the right direction. One is going the right direction. 3 is going the right direction. Alrighty. What do you like this? Okay, we are going to exit out of here. I can unplug the power, unplug the controller. I'm going to go back one more time into the configurator, or the Betaflight. I'm going to check the motors here as well, because I can. Because it's something I like to do. It's always asking you, make sure your props are off. Okay. Now I'm going to set up my OSD. OSD is your on-screen display. This is what allows you to see all the crazy things that we get to see in the air. Get some power to a monitor here. Okay, OSD. Let's see what we got going on here. I want, on my thing, I like a craft name. I like warnings. Go back up here. GPS speed is fun. Change some of these around. Home distance. Oops. Home distance and home direction. We like to know how many satellites we have. We're still looking for a couple things I want. Link quality. Where is my timer? One timer. The first timer. It's my total armed time. I think that's all I want today. Gotta save that. Okay, I'm gonna move my phone here real quick. So if you look here, I've got some other information that's showing up on the OSD. That's coming from the camera. Remember in the earlier videos I showed you that little control panel that comes with the camera? I've got to make some adjustments to that. So I'm gonna do that next. I'll do it off screen. And we'll come back and talk just a little bit more, and we'll see you then. All right, got everything configured the way I need to. Again, guys, this isn't a full comprehensive thing. It's just kind of a quick way that I do it. The next step, though, after you do the programming, is you just want to make sure that you arm and failsafe correctly. So I'm going to plug in. My radio is already on, and my GPS should connect because it's been connecting. Sometimes you got to give GPS a minute. Hopefully it'll connect again. Okay, that's flipping my switch and it arms. I'm going to turn the radio off. And the quad turns off. That's what we want. Waiting for GPS again. There we go. Good arm. Good. All right, guys. Let me get some gear together and we get to go do a test flight. Well, I got to charge a battery all the way, I guess. Let me unplug this. All right, before we put props on and go test fly, there is one last, or a couple last things you need to do. First, you need to make sure that everything's out of the way of the props. We don't have props on yet, but we'll get them. We'll check that. We need to make sure that everything's tight and tucked away. Here, I've still got this little wire hanging out from the camera. I'm going to take that with a pair of tweezers and poke it back inside. Hopefully it doesn't come out. Make sure props will spin here, everything will be out of the way. Looking good. And then you can go back, wrong wrench, and check all your bolts. Like that. These ones, make sure everything's snug. The battery lead. On this quad, I haven't decided whether I want to go top mount or bottom mount. So I have not secured this lead down here. See, so I can go underneath or I can go on top. I think today what I'm going to do is zip tie it in this area. And then that way I can plug in on the top. We'll go on the top today. I'll get some battery straps on here and get some batteries charged up. And we're going to go out and fly. I'm going to check all my screws and everything. Get some props on. Hopefully I'm showing up. Here she is. Let's see if she makes a mess or flies all right. Well, not bad.